If China invaded, would you fight?
Yeah, of course. 当然，一定会的。
It's very tense at the moment. The police aren't here yet. It's too dangerous to openly film now because there will still be scouts here waiting, and that man is alive. I think Unreported World's success is that it takes its title seriously and sort of literally. And that the stories we do are off the news, they're off the agenda, but they tell you something about the world and the way the world is changing.
Is the safety of these revered athletes being ignored?
¿Cuánto hace que saben ustedes que el edificio ya tiene dueño? ¿Cuánto hace?
الحين عيالي صغار ذا الحين يسمعوها يرزموا كذا ما يقدروا لا ياكلوا ولا يروحوا بعد وخلينا الاكل ورحنا.
Yeah, it's kind of a sneak behind the curtain, isn't it?
Yemen is quite simply the most distressing place I've ever been. As Houthi rebels, backed by Iran, fight the Yemeni president, who is backed by a Saudi-led coalition of Arab countries. The one that always haunts me is Yemen during the war. And we went to see the impact of the Saudi-led military action on the civilian population. And we didn't, to be honest, really know what we were going to find. And I remember on day one, we went straight to a hospital and we went to the pediatric intensive care, and a baby died of starvation pretty much in front of us.
يعني الأطفال خاصة الأطفال children 90% من السكان يعني من الحالات المركزة عندنا في المستشفى malnutrition.
It is a terrifying atmosphere in here. The fact that a child can die on one bed just meters away from where another is fighting for his life, and the parents focusing on their children with all this grief around them. It's a terrible situation. This is a massive story. We had no idea really this was going on. And we were the only foreign team in the country at the time. And it was very, very difficult to get into Houthi-run Yemen at that point. It still is. And so it really felt like we were revealing something. And, you know, we spent 2 weeks basically going around the country seeing the impact of a blockade, effectively, on Yemen, an entirely man-made food shortage, and mothers who were so hungry that they couldn't breastfeed their children, children who were dying of starvation, people with no means of feeding themselves at all.
Malnutrition complicated by just infection. Malnutrition people have weak immunity,
Right.
so they are susceptible for many other diseases, many other infections. They are getting sick easily.
The documentary that stays with me the most is going to Guatemala, and I've been there a few times before filming. It was a story that me and the PD Amy had been trying to do for years, and it's basically about these young girls who are being raped, got pregnant through rape, forced to continue with the pregnancy, and then basically their whole life changes. They have to drop out of school. You know, they're basically forced into adulthood, sometimes as young as 10. And then we went to this amazing centre where they were trying to help these girls and rehabilitate them. And, you know, this was like the only place in Guatemala we could get that kind of help. Very few women got to that place.
At La Alianza, they help young girls by providing a nursery, looking after their babies so the girls can complete their education. But raising a child born through rape can sometimes prove too difficult. This baby's 14-year-old mom has recently moved out of the mother and baby unit after deciding she can't raise her child. The baby will be looked after by this nurse until she's put up for adoption. It's clear the infant is feeling the separation.
The thing about that kind of story as well, though, is you know, you must have seen how similar those girls were to what you were, what your friends were, and what our kids are, even though it's in such a different setting.
The 40-minute walk up the mountain is especially treacherous during the rainy season.
It's crazy to imagine someone who's about to give birth will have to do this journey. I think there's advantages to being a female reporter. I think people are less intimidated by you, probably. But there's definitely been a few moments where it's felt a bit dicey. In the Guatemala film, many of the men who had committed these crimes, so they were often neighbours, you know, often grown men, would stand near where we were filming to try and intimidate us. One of them kept walking past the house as we were speaking to one of the women, or one of the girls, I should say.
It was really shocking to see how close Angelina's alleged attacker was living to her. Since she reported him, he'd built this home just meters from her front door.
The whole process is really, really quick. I think people find that really shocking. You know, the idea that you might have a story that has been developed over a period of time by one or two people in the office, gets handed over to a team of 2 people, and they go off and make that story within a month. 2 weeks of development, 2 weeks of shooting. Unreported World is a genuine voyage of discovery. That's the thing about it. It's like, it is what you see. It's a reporter getting off a plane with a director, going off and finding stuff out.
Weirdly, with the film that I've just done, the Tenerife film, day one,
you got it.
It was crazy.
Things are only getting more heated. After a few minutes, the officer uses his pepper spray to get them to back off.
It was the day that we went on a raid with the Desakupa men and it all blew up. You know, there was an arrest, there was pepper spray, there was fighting between the 2 different sides of the contributors. It's like, right, we can go home now.
That situation exploded really quickly. The group say that everything they're doing is within the law and they're doing nothing wrong, but it's clear that both the people they're trying to evict who are standing here watching all this play out and the police are intimidated by the group.
But there is a degree of relief when you get something good in the beginning, because sometimes you're like halfway through the film, you're like, ooh, I don't know if we're going to get what we need here.
Right by the sunbeds outside a luxury hotel, in what's supposed to be one of the safest places in Mexico, a man has been gunned down in the sand.
Atrás de la cinta.
I arrived in Mexico to do a film about the impact of organised crime and the mafia on murders in what were holiday resorts like Acapulco and Cancun. We got off the plane and we met our local journalist, who was very plugged into the police radios and all the local journalist networks. And as we were loading the bags into the car, he said, actually, there's been a murder about an hour away. Do you want to just go straight there? Forget about going to the hotel and checking in. And we were like, well, I suppose so, yeah. And we got there and we arrived at the most horrific mass murder scene, pretty much as the police were getting there as well. This is far too gruesome and shocking to really show you on television, but what I can see is 3 boys and maybe 1 adult man. Just teenagers, really, and they've been shot to death and possibly dumped here. They're essentially children.
You're going to look at a country in a different way, just as if somebody visits the UK, they will notice things that I wouldn't notice. They'll be like outraged or amazed by things that I'm used to, that I wouldn't spot. And equally, you know, when we go places, we'll see things that locals wouldn't pick up on.
So I think you have to be unabashed about saying, you know, this is not an attempt to say this is the truth. It is an experience of a team going to a country and exploring a story or something that's happening. And I think that's why it's powerful, and that's why it's got, you know, an authority and a following.